You know that disgusted look your cat gives you when you trip over your own feet? Or when your dog tilts his head like he's trying to process your life choices. Now imagine if that look came with words. Real, unfiltered words. You're wearing that again? You call that a fetch throw? Suddenly, your pet isn't just reacting, they're commenting. That alone would change everything. Let's break this down. First, our day-to-day lives would be completely different. Right now, we live with animals, but we don't really know them. If animals could talk, that invisible wall would vanish. You wouldn't just guess what your dog wants. You'd hear it. Walk now. I'm bored. You forgot dinner again. The guesswork is gone. But so is the silence. And that silence, as it turns out, might have been the thing that made pets feel like pets. Suddenly, it's a roommate with fur. Psychologically, it gets more complex. We rely on animals for comfort, for calm. They're the quiet presence in a noisy world. But once they speak, especially with their own thoughts, opinions, even moods, that dynamic changes. Your cat wouldn't just purr, they might criticize. Your hamster might express fear. The emotional bond would still exist, maybe even deepen, but now it's not a one-way street. You'd start feeling responsible for their inner life. That changes how people would approach even owning a pet in the first place. And then comes the ethical side. What would it mean to own something that talks? That argues? That asks you, why am I in a cage? Or why can't I go outside? We'd be forced to reevaluate how we treat animals, especially the ones we've domesticated. Zoos, farms, even research labs, these would become emotional minefields. No longer passive or silent, these animals would demand explanation, fairness, even freedom. And those conversations, they wouldn't be easy to walk away from. But maybe the biggest shift wouldn't be in our homes. It would be outside. Out there, in the wild, where nature still runs without us. If animals could talk, what would they say about us? Out in the wild, the dynamic flips. We're not caretakers, we're intruders. Imagine walking through a forest and hearing whispers from the trees, not from spirits, but squirrels. Birds. Frogs. Quiet, the humans are here. Don't eat that berry, they sprayed it yesterday. They cut down the oak where my nest was. The silence of nature would be broken, but not by us. By nature itself. And it wouldn't just speak, it would remember. Socially, this would divide people fast. Some would find comfort in this new form of communication, people who already feel more connected to animals than to humans. But others? Overwhelmed. Conflicted. If a stray dog asks for help and you walk away, how does that change the way you see yourself? It's no longer ignorance. It's a choice. It's personal. Conversations create bonds, and with that comes responsibility. We'd stop being bystanders in the animal world and start being accountable participants. Then there's the economic shift. The moment animals can talk, the argument that they're lesser, less aware, less conscious falls apart. Laws would have to evolve. Could we still eat meat the same way? Would animals have labor rights? Representation? Maybe not all animals would speak the same language, but the fact that they speak at all would force our systems, legal, moral, even political, to confront something they've ignored for centuries, animal perspective. And some voices wouldn't just be cute. They'd be angry, tired, unforgiving. But let's zoom in again. Not on society. On you. Think about your average day. Every ant you stepped on. Every fly you swatted. Every bird you startled. If they had voices, memories, and reactions, how would you feel walking out the door? How would it feel to be constantly seen, commented on, remembered by every non-human pair of eyes around you? Suddenly, you're not living in the world. You're being watched by it. And it doesn't stop there. What if it's not just the speaking that changes, but what they know? Because animals see things we don't. They've been in the background of human life forever. What if they started telling us things we weren't ready to hear? Because here's the thing, animals have always been there. In rooms we thought were private. In fields where secrets were buried. In homes where silence was the only witness. And if they could talk, they'd have stories. Not just about us, but about the way we live when we think no one's watching. Dogs would speak of loyalty and loneliness. Elephants might recount generations of displacement. Ravens could detail the rhythm of war. It wouldn't all be cute. Some of it would be uncomfortable. And with that comes a shift that's hard to ignore. Animals wouldn't just be observers. They'd become narrators. Imagine history from the point of view of a horse that marched into battle or a whale who's dodged ships for decades. Our stories would no longer be ours alone. Every version would be contested. Every truth we've built might come with a counterpoint from something we never thought had a voice in the first place. The world becomes layered. Messy, but also more complete. In everyday life, there be moments of awe but also overwhelm. A bee buzzing past your ear might shout, "Move." A cow might ask you where her calf went. A rat might tell you about the poison down the street. Our surroundings would become active. No longer background noise, but conversation. Traffic wouldn't just be honking cars, but frustrated birds and irritated dogs. Parks wouldn't be peaceful, they'd be full of arguments over territory, weather complaints, and warnings about human litter. And here's the surprising part, some animals might not even want to talk to us. They might avoid us entirely. Choose silence. Choose each other. Because just like in human society, not everyone wants to share. Some species might speak only in times of danger. Others might lie. Some might manipulate. Communication wouldn't guarantee connection, it would complicate it. We'd discover a spectrum of personalities in the animal world we never prepared for. But what about the bond we thought we had? What about all those years we assumed our pets understood us, even without words? If they could suddenly speak, would they confirm that feeling? Or would they finally reveal something we've quietly feared, that maybe all along they were simply tolerating us? Maybe that's the real question. If animals could talk, would they still want to be around us? Or would they finally walk away, now able to say, "I've had enough"? The answer probably wouldn't be one size fits all. Some would stay, some would go, but all of them would now have a choice. And that alone shifts the balance between human and animal forever. Our relationships would deepen for some. Imagine finally knowing why your dog stares at the door when it rains, or what makes your parrot mimic your laugh. But with others, we might face rejection, criticism, even heartbreak, because the truth doesn't always sound like what we hope, especially not from the beings we've projected so much love, warmth, and loyalty onto without ever truly hearing their side. This new world wouldn't be built on control. It would be built on dialogue. Messy, emotional, unpredictable dialogue. We'd learn humility fast. We'd start asking instead of assuming, listening instead of interpreting. Laws would shift. Relationships would evolve. Empathy would stop being a guess and start becoming a choice. Parenting a pet wouldn't just mean feeding and walking them. It would mean hearing them, understanding their boundaries, their fears, their happiness. That's a lot more real than treats and belly rubs. And over time, the silence we once took for granted might become something we actually missed. Because when everything can speak, peace isn't just quiet anymore. It's earned. We'd have to earn trust again, not with tricks or routines, but with respect. Not every bark would be a need. Not every purr would be praise. We'd have to learn to interpret meaning, not just sound. So, if animals could talk, would we be ready to listen? Or would we spend the rest of our lives trying to explain ourselves to a world we never truly understood? Either way, one thing's certain, once the silence is gone, the world we knew doesn't come back. And maybe that's exactly what we needed.